because it was too painful. We have had people like that throughout our history who have made those kinds of sacrifices on our behalf. And my friends, when John Adams and the rest of those folks who signed the Declaration of Independence in 1776 signed at the bottom, pledging their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor, they meant business. They weren't messing around. And I would contend that we're now some 230 years down the path from those original documents and the signing of those by those founders of our nation. And we've lived and basked in the glory of what they did, of the price that they've paid. And it's our turn to roll up our sleeves and take our pens out and sign our names on a renewed Declaration of Independence for this country that says we pledge our lives, our fortune, and our sacred honor to keep this. I say often in my presentations that I will be hanged if on my watch I give to the next generation a burned out torch of liberty. That is irresponsible. That is wrong. We each have a responsibility in every generation to hand to the next generation the values, the freedom that we have so enjoyed. For one of the first times in our history, in this state, we witnessed over the last 18 months, well, almost what a war looks like. Now, you all, most of you are from over here in this beautiful section of our state, and I'm not about ready to move over here, by the way. It's gorgeous over here, and it's a lot calmer than Madison. All right, now I'm smart enough not to live in Madison proper. I live in Watertown, and I commute to Madison. But Madison has issues. And when I saw the Capitol, reminded me that there are people who hate what you and I stand for. They hate it. The first day, I was actually at a legislative conference with another group across the street from the Capitol the day of the public hearing. And when the public hearing on what became Act 10 started, I came out of that building, walked across the street, went into the Capitol, and I've been in the Capitol, I've been doing this for 15 years. I've been in the Capitol a lot during the legislative session and attended a lot of public hearings. I went up to the 4th floor, and when I hit the elevator and walked off it, I said to myself, wow, something is different. Because the lines for the public hearing wrapped around the 4th floor, double deep. And I stood in line for a long, long time thinking I would at least want to get in and register on this because our organization had already taken a public stand supporting the governor and his bill for the budget repair bill. And I'll tell you why we did that. We did it because we believed his policies would create independent family units. Listen, when our family units are independent of government, we are strong. When our family units are dependent on government for education, housing, car, cell phone, and you name it, we are a very weak state and a very weak country. And we looked at his policies and said, this fits our mission. We want strong, independent family units. And so I looked at this and I said, I'm not sure it's worth my being here. A few people knew me, and the crowd was already getting just a little bit raucous. So I left. The next day I came up there, and that was one of the first days when they had some major demonstrations. And I said to our staff when I got back at the office, this is not about Governor Walker versus the unions. This is a clash of worldviews of the highest order. And as Jake pointed out, that's exactly what it is. It's a clash of worldviews between people who say, liberty is my right to do to you whatever I want to do. Where we say liberty is responsible behavior with an element of understanding that we have responsibility for our actions. That we have a right to work hard and to keep what we have. Not to distribute it amongst people who are not working and want what we have. Clash of worldviews. And you look at this even to today. I read some of the comments about some of the legislators who are not making an appearance at the governor's Rockfest down in Madison at the executive residence tonight. Folks, it's a clash of worldviews. It's ideology, clashing with ideology. Wisconsin Family Action and Wisconsin Family Council take a very firm stand saying that the worldview that we have as an organization is that which goes back to those fundamental principles James talked about. That the family is the most important unit that we have in this state and in this country. And when you start messing with the family, you start redefining what the family looks like, and you start making it possible for other types of, quote, family units to have the same kind of standing that the gold standard of a married mom and dad have, you're in trouble. Somebody posted on our Facebook page page today, when will you stop making the family the golden calf? Never.
Good.
Never. We don't worship the family. We worship Almighty God. But my friends, God designed the family unit as a married mom and dad and the children that they would have in that union because He knew that was for our good. We're not playing around here with God's design without some kind of repercussion. Look at the repercussions we have in this state all the time. Look, you can be an unwed mother and make $38,000 to $40,000 a year of federal and state money like clockwork. Where in the world is the incentive to marry and give those kids a father? And what we know about fatherlessness is more children that have children without fathers are more likely to end up in jail, they're less likely to finish school, they're more likely to get poverty, and we'll go on and on. I'll show you some statistics in that in just a minute. Those are fundamental principles. And yes, the family is important. We don't have the word family in our name and names on accident. It's the core. It's the bedrock. When we lose the sense that the core of the traditional families are important in our state and nation, folks, it's time to probably fold up our tents and leave. Because we will have every ill you can think of. And we have just about every ill you can think of now. The family unit is just shattered. We need policies that support marriage. Charlene Lambert is here from Great Marriages, Sheboygan. And I know she would agree with me on that. Getting people married, keeping them married is a major issue today. Our marriage rate in this state has dropped 41% in 20 years. 41%. Does that mean men and women aren't together? Yeah, we all know that's not the truth. No, the cohabitation rate is skyrocketing. Absolutely skyrocketing. So that's what Wisconsin Family Council and Wisconsin Family Action are all about, the families. Our mission statement says we're about marriage, family, life, and liberty. For us, it's a package deal. They all relate to each other. Now, first slide, what are we doing to do this? We work on legislative efforts and statewide efforts to strengthen marriage. That's one of the first words. We did the Marriage Protection Amendment in 2006. It took a lot of good friends to help us do that marriage amendment. A lot of people gave money, gave time, gave of themselves, their expertise. But you know what? Have you all heard the news? Did you know that Governor Walker and the conservative Republicans outspent the Democrats in the recall election 7-1? And that's why they won? Did you hear that news yesterday? Well, I got news for you. Whoops. Yes, I just shut the whole thing down. There we go. Maybe I don't know what I'm doing. When we did the marriage amendment in 2006, right here, we were truly outspent 7-1, and guess what? We won! We won nearly 60% to 40%. It's not all about money. It's about concept. It's about worldview. It's about ideology. It's about what is right and what is wrong. And the people in this state fundamentally understand that. Well, so we were very honored and humbled to have a part in the Marriage Protection Amendment. By the way, I give heritage tours at the state capitol for groups when they come down occasionally, and I was shown the Constitution that Jake had there on his very first slide, and it was desecrated during the mob rule down there, and that's what it was mob rule. It was just desecrated. They were changing dirty diapers and in there, all kinds of things. But I always pointed out to young people and say, the highest honor I have ever had is to go and read Article 13, Section 13 of our state constitution that says marriage in this state is between one man and one woman and won't be undermined by look-alike marriages or marriage by another name, and no one had anything to do with that. Now, it's constantly under attack. Helen Royce, a representative now running for Congress down in Madison, has already put forward legislation late last session trying to repeal the whole thing. Marriage is never safe. And why is it the #1 institution they want to destroy? Because of what Jay pointed out. The way to change us fundamentally in this country and in this state is to go at our roots. And our roots are marriage and family. And if you can destroy that unit, then you can have our soul. Because that's how we transmit values. That's how we transmit love of our country. That's how we transmit those character traits of honesty and integrity and virtue. And hard work and industry. And all of those things. And when you can separate moms from their children and dads from their children, folks, you got it. You've got the whole thing. So we continue to work on that. We work on community marriage agreements and marriage mentoring. Right now we're focusing on the city of Racine and the community of Racine. And we're just about, sometime this fall, we'll be having a public signing of a community marriage agreement there, where churches from all over the community come together and sign an agreement saying, much like you have right here in Sheboygan, that says, we won't marry you unless you've already done these things. Had premarital counseling with an inventory, had an extended waiting period, agreed to further counseling and mentoring. And folks, it can change how we view marriage. Let's not let these kids church shop anymore and want to get married, in 2 days or 5 weeks. They need more time. We do a Marriage Week promotion. One thing I want to brag on our governor here a little bit. The National Marriage Week is a fairly new concept. Governor Walker, last year, I approached him, his office, about issuing a proclamation recognizing Marriage Week here in this state without question. Within days, I had a signed proclamation from the governor honoring the institution of marriage in this state. And yes, we framed it and hanged. We've got another one to match it for this year because it's important. He recognizes that. Marriage is the foundation. We also have regular meetings with legislators, and a quick story on that. We were before all of the world fell apart last year in February, our organization had already had 50 half-hour meetings with legislators. Getting our agenda ready, and then the world fell apart, those kind of stopped. Because we couldn't get in the building. We couldn't get down the halls. One time I got caught in the building, and you saw the slide that Jake had with the people banging on the windows. The police would not let me out of the building because the press of the crowd, happened to be the day Jesse Jackson was here stirring up the troops, the press of the crowd was so great on the outside, they said, if we let you out, they'll come in and tear the doors down and get in. How's that for respect? So I had to have an escort out at private entrance way on the other side of the Capitol so that I could get out. When Jay talks about what went on down there, he's not exaggerating in the least. It's hard to even describe it. So now that things have kind of settled down a little bit, we continue meeting with legislators. We do publications and communications. The newest one we'll be putting out is our updated cultural indicators, which is a survey of data impacting families, such things as bankruptcies, gambling takes from casinos, ACT scores, SAT scores, births, unwed childbirth, abortion rates, all kinds of data that shows the condition of our state, if you will, the health of our state. And we're in the process of getting that finalized and ready to go. Family E-Connection is our weekly update that we send through email. Our Family News Connection that we send, that's a newsletter, and I think there are some copies back there on the table. Diane has some extra ones. We just went to a new format, and you're welcome to pick up a copy of the most recent one, just showing you some of the pictures of some of the banners from those things. We need to do more in the area of communication. We need to let more people know about this. One of the reasons we wanted to do this format is we wanted to start bringing people together in smaller groups to introduce you to us personally, as well as to introduce you to our work. I have often maintained Wisconsin Family Council and Wisconsin Family Action is one of Wisconsin's best kept secrets. And maybe I'm the responsible party for that, but it takes a ton of money to run an organization like this and keep your name out there and keep doing what you know you're supposed to be doing. We're not being flashy, but I tell you what we are. We roll up our sleeves and we work hard and we get the job done. We know what our mission is. We aren't looking for accolades. We pray that God will bless our work because we honestly believe it's His work, and we believe we have the right position on the issues. And every once in a while, when I start thinking we don't, and that this is foolish, and this is just way too much work for way too little reward, something will happen. I'll read an article and I'll say, no, we're right, we're right, we're right. If the whole world says we're wrong, it's right. It's right to support families. It's right to promote marriage. It's right to defend marriage. Because the minute we take our eye off the ball, folks are going to come in and they're going to redefine marriage. They want it. It's part of what they want. It's part of reshaping America, reshaping Wisconsin. And some of us, you may say, well, what's the big deal? How does changing the definition of marriage affect my marriage? It may not individually affect your marriage because you're responsible for the health of your own marriage, but it will undermine the institution of marriage that forms the warp and woof of our society. It's a means by which we care for children, And children, for those of us who are purely physical conservatives, my friends, children are the next taxpayers. They're the next entrepreneurs. They're the next academicians. They're the next workforce. You take away the next generation and you don't have a tax base. You don't have a workforce. You go ask Russia. Go ask Italy, who are struggling with such a low replacement rate or birth rate that they are now in Russia paying married couples who have babies. Wisconsin has been below replacement birth rate for decades. A real quick story. I listened to WTMJ in the morning when I'm getting ready for work. And about a month and a half ago, they had a teaser on that said that we have jobs begging in the Badger State. And they don't have anybody to fill the jobs. And I'm all fine because I'm about the economy and the jobs, and I want to get jobs for my families, and I want them to thrive and not just survive. And I thought, okay, what's the story here? What are they going to say? They didn't disappoint me. The reason we don't have people to fill those jobs is our workforce between the ages of 25 and 50, which is prime work years, is too low. Well, they really had my attention. And the next thing they said was, it's because we haven't been having enough babies. Well, you can't afford 7,000 babies a year and have people have 1.9 or 1.8 babies per woman for a long period of time when you should be having 2.1 babies per woman to replace your population and not have repercussions. It's not just about treating the next workforce, folks. It's about having the next workforce. It's about bringing them in and rearing them and caring for them so they become productive citizens. Where do they learn to work hard? To view work as noble. My friends, they learn it at the knee of a mom and a dad and a grandma and a grandma and aunts and uncles. You start ripping that asunder and you lose the foundation. And I don't care what you build on the foundation, whatever it is, the superstructure will collapse. There is no foundation. We work in elections to educate and motivate citizens. We do have a PAC. We have actually two PACs. We have a political action committee for state and local officials, and now we have a federal one. And we do endorse candidates. We support candidates. As much money as we get into our PAC, we can give to them. Mostly what we do is we try to educate candidates too. The new candidates I meet with for an hour to an hour and a half, and I've had them tell me, that's the most grilling I've ever had. Well, you know what? I don't just want a yes vote. I want a leader. Give me a leader. I want somebody who's going to stand up for what's right. Do it with some savvy. Don't get yourself so sidelined that you don't get reelected. Or you can't, last time I checked, it takes 50 people to get a bill passed in our state assembly. You better be able to build a consensus so we can get 49 people to join you in the vote. So we're looking for special people. So we do have that, but a lot of our work is just educational. Just a real quick history here. In 2008, we worked with the coalition to do what we call Vote Your Values campaign. We worked with Wisconsin Right to Life and a couple of other groups. We did massive mailing, DVDs, interaction with churches. In 2010, we were pretty much on our own, but we managed to do major voter education and get out the vote effort. For those of you that don't know, GOTV is Get Out the Vote. And we were looking to elect pro-family, pro-life, pro-liberty candidates at all levels of government, including in the governor's office. And guess what? Collectively, we got her done. Only to find that some people were unhappy with it and had to repeat it. So we got in the fray again. On 2011, we worked in the Wisconsin Supreme Court election. In fact, on that one, we mailed 100,000 voter guides statewide, had an individual step up and give us some money to mail our voter guides so people can know what the candidates for the Supreme Court position stood for. Then we did the Senate recall elections in 2011. It just goes on and on and on with elections, doesn't it? Yeah, instead of the Badger State, I vote we rename it the election state. We did, for this last summer, we were in a coalition again with Wisconsin Right to Life. Collectively, we did 90,000 phone calls, 20,000 voter guides, 36,000 candidate comparison door hanger pieces in targeted areas. We did direct mail, TV, and radio spots. In fact, one of our TV ads was voted the best conservative ad all through that cycle. Now it was a little edgy, I'll give you that, but it got the job done, and it wasn't illegal, it was accurate, but it forced people to pay attention to what the candidate stood for. We have a media presence. We do Wisconsin Family Connection, which is a radio commentary that airs on 25 Christian radio stations statewide once a week. We do, I host and I'm a regular guest on various radio stations, and we do press releases and media representation all the time to bring our side of the story. In fact, I did one against my better judgment with the Capital Times here in early May. I would ask if anybody saw it, and I hope you don't read that paper. I really hope you don't read that paper. Terry Fuller, yeah, what's the name of that? You know, the Cap Times now is down to a once-a-week publication. Yeah, it's a print publication. The rest of the time they're online. And I agreed to do this article, and I didn't know what I got myself into, so I took Diane back here from our organization, and I said, you better come with me, the media witness. And so I went into the Cap Times, and lo and behold, it's a feature article, like the cover of the paper. And I had a photo shoot, and it was really quite something. And of course, it was the day after President Obama had come out and said that he supported same-sex marriage. So when I sat down with the reporter, I said, I bet you are just licking your chops, aren't you? He was. And I got some bad press out of it. One of the things we got was, well, two of the things we got. Number one, I got a great story. I went back in the back of the photographer, and I'm standing back there waiting for him to get the lights right. And I had no idea I was sitting for a photo shoot. And he said, he came up to me, and he walked right up to me, hard of hearing, and he said, thank you for your work.